Ready? Welcome to Ball and Chain Podcast. This is episode 240. I am Moxborn again. I have with me, as always, it's my angel. Hello. Turn the microphone so it faces your face. There you go. Sorry, you were really quiet last episode. Oh, so get up in there. Yeah, girl. Oh. Well, this is derailed quickly. All right. Anyway, welcome to the podcast. This is 2 weeks in a row. Hat trick next week. No, so we are here to talk about video games, movies, board games, pretty much anything we find interesting. I haven't found a really good intro yet. You'd think after 240 episodes I'd have a good intro, but it never comes out right. I've got it written down here, but it never sounds right. But anyway, we're here to talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. And yeah, feel free to join us. We are live every Thursday about 9 o'clock. We were a little late today because, well, dinner was running a little late because, well, baby kind of controls the timing and time frame and everything like that. But yeah, we usually go live about 9 o'clock. So head on over to our YouTube page, youtube.com/72DPI online. We got a whole bunch of content up there going live a couple times a week. And then this show goes live every Thursday. So we've got a whole bunch of talk about today. We do have an after show where we'll get into that in a minute. But let's kind of talk real quick. What have you been up to the past 7 days?
Golly, I don't even know. My days just blur together.
Today is Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday.
Right. Well, Tuesday, I thought it was Wednesday and didn't pack a lunch for.
Right. You didn't feed the child.
Until the teacher came down and told me, "Hey, you forgot a lunch." I said, "Oh wait, don't we have hot dog? No, we don't. It's not Wednesday." So yeah, like I said, my days blur together. Been to the gym twice. That was a Christmas gift. I know twice in 7 days is not a lot, but it's a start. It's something, and it's hard with our schedules where
we don't have any time off together.
Right.
Like
so for someone to stay with the kids while the other one goes to the gym doesn't happen very often.
Right. So essentially, like the way it works is you come home from working an 8-hour shift with 25-year-olds, and then immediately turn around and go work out, and then come home and hopefully I have dinner ready twice a week. It happened once last week, and it's happened once this week.
Yeah.
So we're getting there. Hey, you know what?
Time, and then you.
Right, and then I drag you into this. So.
And somewhere in there, I have, You
have to sleep or.
Editing, sleep.
Right. Well, this doesn't happen every week. This doesn't happen every day. So, but anyway, but yeah, once last week, once this week. We've got a calendar set up to where we plan on going twice a week, based on our schedules, and. Maybe we will get there, but hey, we're week by week. Baby steps, right? You worked out longer this week than you did last week.
I did.
So that's good.
I did.
So, what else is going on?
You downloaded some new games. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Oh yeah.
Played a little bit of that. This upcoming weekend, we've got Christmas.
We got Christmas again. Our last Christmas.
Almost a month later.
Yep. So we're going up to Tiffin for that.
Had an engagement shoot this last weekend at a new wedding venue that's soon to open. Their first wedding will be this May.
There you
That's
go.
when they're slated to have their first wedding. So yeah, we were out there. It's still largely a construction site, but it's gonna look gorgeous when it's done. It's been renovated.
You didn't talk about your new computer last week.
We didn't talk about that?
Nope.
Oh yeah. So on our anniversary, we built a computer for me with parts that I got for Christmas. It's insane fast, which is very nice for photo editing. So, and it's colorful.
And it's colorful. It's got lots of lights.
Yep.
So, Well, I'm glad you like it. I was worried for a brief moment because we went with an APU instead of just a CPU GPU combo. So it just like the CPU handles both the graphics and the actual CPU tasks and things like that. So there's no GPU in this computer yet. But I was worried that Photoshop would have a hard time with it because it's a pretty strenuous program. But no, it does really well. I'm pleasantly surprised to the point where it's like, is a GPU even required?
Not necessarily for what I do.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. But if you plan on gaming on it, I think we should try some games and see what the games are like. But I bet that's where it'll start to show its lackluster graphics or graphical ability. But if it's an editing PC and it gets you to where you need to be, then sweet, we just saved $600 or more because yeah, GPUs are. Let's see here. So, as far as I'm concerned, went to the brewery store yesterday. I think it was. Yeah, yesterday. Got the bottle cap clincher thing, so we can bottle some beer and some cider. It's almost ready. The cider's actually started to slow way down as far as like the air bubbles and all that stuff coming out of the top. I haven't seen the beer bubble in a while, but those should be ready tomorrow. I don't know if we're actually going to get to it tomorrow, or if I should just wait till Sunday when we've got some time and not rushed. We'll probably do the latter.
And it'll sit in bottles. Like the cider could probably wait. The beer you could probably honestly do because it's going to sit in bottles for a couple weeks too, anyhow. So
right. But I still got to sanitize all those bottles. I bought a whole bunch of bottles.
There's lots of work to do to get it.
Yeah, there's lots of work to get it to where it needs to go.
I guess if you're sanitizing bottles, you might as well sanitize all of them and bottle both
at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah, so we'll probably wait on that. But yeah, got these little drops. So like to carbonate the cider, you're supposed to drop in some like priming sugar or whatever. Oh, can you do? Oh, yes, that's.
I think I don't know.
And then you cap it, and so the guy was telling me about like how much to put in, and some people put more, some people put less based on their preferences. And he's like, or you could just go with these, and he handed me a bag, and it's just these little like capsule things that you just drop in. They're like little droplets, and you just drop them in, and it, one in for the 12-ounce bottle or two in for the 22, and it carbonates it for you. Like that's awesome. Like I'll take that.
Well, it's just sugar.
Right, but it's like you don't have to scoop it. You don't have to. Right. Yeah, you just drop the little. What do they call those things? Not tablet. I think they're called drops, aren't they? Drops.
Well, it's called carbonation drops. Yeah. But it's like it almost reminds me of like a little hard candy. They look they look just like root beer barrels. That's exactly what they look like. And
You're
about
right.
the same size.
About the same size. They're clear, like foggy white though.
Right. Yeah. So that's basically the best way to describe it. But the thing is, to create the alcohol in the beer, the yeast eats the sugars, right? So once you put the carbonation drops, but the gas is escaping.
Right.
So adding more sugar, that yeast is going to eat those sugars and create more carbonation trapped because now you've got it bottled. So
gotcha.
Those bubbles will stay trapped.
So when you open it, that's where it comes from. Mm-hmm. Oh, good job, science.
Right.
Way to go. So yeah, so I'm pretty excited about that. I hope it's not terrible. Maybe we'll do our first. We'll taste it on air live and see if it's bad. Okay, we'll redo that. So yeah. So what we're talking about today, we're gonna skip over what we've been playing because a lot of what we've been playing is in one of our news stories. But we're gonna be talking about 2020 game show and conferences are all going viral yet again. So we've got some new news, updated news on that. We'll be talking about Sony's big big push to fix the supply shortage, so we'll be talking about that. And then we've also got the aforementioned Kotaku finally put out a decent article about the 21 best games on Xbox Game Pass. So we'll be diving into that a little bit and kind of branching off of that. And then finally, in the after show, we will be talking about the final episode of Dexter New Blood. So there won't be any spoilers in the main show. After we close out the show and go to the after show, there will be spoilers. We will be talking about the final episode and speculating on future episodes or no episodes or where it goes from here. And yeah, so don't worry, there won't be any spoilers until we'll give you a fair warning ahead of time. So anyway, let's dive into our first topic here, and it's 2022 game shows are going viral again. So I got this off Shack News, which I'm assuming they are just reporting on someone else's thing or whatever, but they had the most. That's where I saw it first. But last week, E3 had announced that they were going virtual again. And this week, the New York Game Awards, which I was not familiar with. This is the 11th annual New York Game Awards. They're going virtual as well because of COVID concerns. So we watched last year's E3 virtual, at least the Xbox, I think the PlayStation one as well. And I didn't have any problem with it. I actually thought it was pretty entertaining. It's pretty quick.
I mean, it was. I honestly don't remember a whole lot, but isn't that basically? Wasn't it just the show where the guy gets on the stage and talks about the video games coming out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's that's what we would normally be seeing anyway, because we never go to E3.
Right. The one key difference is they make a bigger push to put all the stuff into that. Into that presentation, and there isn't so much like on the floor, news reporting and stuff like that, where it's crazy loud and it's kind of obnoxious because there's things going on all around, the person trying to give put the news in. They, in 2019 and 2018, they started getting a little bit better about having like behind closed doors, and they would have like podcasts and stuff like that where they would show this stuff and then like overlay it with like video footage. But for a while there, it would just get so frustrating. And last year's was amazing because they just kept I remember the Xbox one where it was like, this will be available on Game Pass. This will be available on like literally everything. I think it was like they probably showed like 30 some games, and like almost 90% of them were on Game Pass.
Right.
But so like I said, I'm not really familiar with this New York Game Awards, but how do you feel about like this whole like going completely virtual? And
it doesn't really affect me at all. I mean, and right now things are as bad as ever with COVID stuff, so it's probably the smart move to make.
Oh yeah, no, I would agree. I just like that they're upping their quality of their of the presentation and stuff like that. So I think good things can come out of it. Would I like them to go back to like a show floor and stuff like that? I really don't know. I mean, I would rather I think I'd rather see them put the money into like actually making the games better. You don't have these game companies buying out huge booths and stuff like that. I mean, spending millions of dollars just to show their game when they could just do it virtually like this. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's still a cost associated with these, grand shows and stuff like that they put on live, but not nearly, because normally they would still do that at a small, for like a half hour, and then still have the giant booth. So, I don't know. I think this is a good thing. Definitely not going to miss the reporting from the floor aspect of it. Let's see here. Let's talk about Kotaku. They put out a 21 best games of Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass, and this kind of like, kind of scour the same page, the same websites for news articles and stuff like that throughout the week. And this one caught my eye because Xbox Game Pass is a massive, massive library. Like there's just tons of games, and usually with Kotaku, there's always some type of political leaning, or there's something to make the reader, to drown up some controversy, whether that's to gain clicks or whatever. But this seemed pretty apolitical, and I was like, sweet, this sounds pretty good. So it caught me by the title. But they simply go through 21 games. They give you like a paragraph or a paragraph or two, kind of describing the game itself, and then they say it's a good match for this type of person, or it's a bad match for this type of gamer. And then they give you how much playtime they have, and this is not from just one person, but from the whole team. So, take it with a grain of salt. This is like a collective of people putting their input together, which is good. You get more information that way. But a couple of the games on here really, just by the screenshot and the description alone, kind of sparked my interest. So I downloaded 3 games. We downloaded the Pedestrian, which it's a very Portal-esque type of game.
I have not tried it yet.
You basically, and I apologize, they don't have any screenshots or anything like that, or video or anything like that. But if you can imagine, like street signs and like road signs and caution signs and all the little people and arrows and things like that, you're basically platforming through all these different signs and things like that. You're grabbing keys to unlock doors. You're dodging lasers. You're moving different parts around, and it's a pretty fun platformer. The one aspect that I enjoy about it's not even part of the game is like once you're going through these doors and it's all 2-dimensional. Except for the world that you're in, you can see around these like signs. They're like in like the real, like not real world, but like they seem like they would be in the world. But in between what they call levels, there isn't like you've completed a level or you finished a level or here's the next level. You're going through the exit door of this stage, and you're basically moving in 3D space to the next sign. In most cases, that next sign is in the background, and they do a nice job of making it super bokeh and like pretty and all that stuff. So like when you like go through the door, you just keep holding the stick to the right, and it like just walks you through to the next sign or whatever. But it's really cool. I'm just now getting into. I probably played about an hour and a half of it. But getting into, connect, there's like electricity things that you need to connect wires to and stuff like that, which is weird to think through the sign, but, kind of divorce yourself from reality for a moment because you're a little stick figure running around on a sign. But it was also cool, like what you do on the sign also interacts with real life. So I made it to like this elevator, like an actual elevator in the world. And you walk up to this elevator sign, and like the sign of the elevator, the door opens, and the background, the door opens in the real world, and you go in and press a button, and the door closes, and you're like kind of looking inside the elevator as it's going down. It's pretty cool. I'm just scratching the surface of it. They said they played 4 hours of it, so there's yeah, but. They did. This is something I won't agree. I kind of don't. I just read this. I don't really agree with it. It says not a good match for anyone seeking Mario tier precision platforming. It is a little floaty, but like I didn't have a problem with it. It's kind of felt like Super Meat Boy and stuff like that. That type of platforming. What else did we download? Unpacking, yes. So you want to talk about this one? You played this one more than I didn't. I finished 2 levels for you.
Yeah, help me out with them. Yeah, it kind of tells a little story almost. So it starts out at 1997, and you have a kid's bedroom, and there's some boxes, and there's some stuff that's already setting out, and you basically just click a box. Like you said, it looks very much like it was made for a computer, because when you use your thumbstick, it has like a little arrow cursor kind of thing that goes over the screen. So yeah, you just click a box, and something comes out of the box, and you set it someplace. That's basically all you do.
It's kind of like a puzzler, right?
To an extent, to some degree, yes. So you have to try to place these things in logical places.
Or if they don't fit, they go under the bed. Which is what we found the other.
Sometimes, yeah. But like, yeah, you don't want to. You can lift things. You can open drawers, open closets, not refrigerators. So at least that we've seen. Medicine cabinets. You can put things under your pillow.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, actually, they require it in the first level.
What do you put under your pillow?
Diary.
Diary? Oh. That's interesting. Okay. So it's kind of thematical.
Yeah. And actually something... the picture that we could not figure out the other day?
Yeah.
So, okay. So, as the game progresses, you put all the things away, and after you do that, after everything is put away, it kind of like makes a little chimey sound, and things start to blink red if they're not in the right place. It doesn't have to be exactly in the right place, but if it's a book, and it wants you to put it on a bookshelf, it'll blink till you put it
on a bookshelf.
In the case that I just mentioned, the diary under the pillow. And then once you complete the room with everything, like all the red blinky things gone and everything's in the right place, you click a little star, it takes a little picture and kind of puts it in a photo album and kind of tells you a little story at the bottom, like, I remember when we moved into this room, or this, this was exciting, my first year at college, or whatever the case may be. So then it kind of moves on. So I don't remember how many years passed, but it then tells you a new year, and clearly you're in a college dorm room.
I feel like it was like every 2 years. Like it was 2 to 3 years.
It shows you college dorm room. You move on. It did at some point after a couple different moves take you back. Like I said, the beginning one just takes you to like this little kid's room. Couple moves in, you get a kitchen, a living room. You're an entire apartment.
Yeah, the one room you were on, the one oh god, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go for it.
No, I was gonna say the one level that you're on right now, but you weren't quite there yet because you've got a whole house.
Well, actually, I don't.
Oh, okay, maybe not.
I was like, wow, this looks like a kid's room. Well, it was my room. I broke up with my boyfriend, whom I moved in with. And
oh no!
It was back in my parents' house. So I had my room and my bathroom, and the picture that we couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
I had to Google because we looked everywhere to put this picture. Yeah, it was a picture of me with my ex. So you're supposed to put it like someplace you wouldn't see it. So close it in the closet.
Oh, how are you supposed to know that?
I don't know.
Can you put that under the pillow? Because that would be.
I tried and
okay.
Didn't accept it.
Because the room that, or the was the picture the one that was when you're in the whole house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
The
okay.
board.
Okay.
Yeah. So then after that, now I'm back in like my own little apartment again.
Oh, well, that's sad.
Sorry. Oh. Yeah. So you kind of like you're living.
Spoilers.
This,
sorry.
I know, right? I mean, it's a free Game Pass little game about unpacking boxes. I mean, I don't know how people are gonna really be upset by that spoiler, but so yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of follow this girl's life by unpacking her boxes.
It is interesting because a lot of the stuff moves from the house to house.
Or you add to it. So
well, right.
She's a lot of little knick-knacky things. Some are very like nerdy, like a D20. But I think she starts out with a little Eiffel Tower, and then like in the next house there's an Eiffel Tower and a Leaning Tower of Pisa, and then the next house there's that, and then the little double-decker bus like from London, and then like so you kind of keep built. You can tell she likes to. I'm assuming she's traveled to these places, and these are little things she's picked up from each place she's gone, which is kind of a neat little thing.
Yeah, it's a cute little game. I mean, it's very mellow, And I mean, there's no points or anything like that. It just literally is you unpacking
Very zen.
everything. I think it's kind of cool. I want to play it, and I plan on playing it. The last game that we downloaded is called Octopath Traveler. I didn't even watch you play it. You played maybe 10 minutes of this. This is the Square Enix one.
The dialogue was hilarious.
Right. But the Kotaku's description of it is both a throwback and a revelation. This is a turn-based role-playing game developed by Square Enix. It's like a 2D HD type of game where you're kind of like harkens back to like the old school like Star Ocean, Phantasy Star, kind of Legend of Zelda type of world. There's multiple heroes to play as apparently, with each that have their own special abilities. It says here they played 79.5 hours.
That sounds about right for an RPG.
Yeah. But it says it's a good match for people looking for a solid, reliable turn-based RPG to sink their teeth into. So it looks really pretty, and kind of caught my eye going down this list. So I'm gonna be starting something a little bit. So this list kind of sparks. Was there anything else you wanted to add about that game?
Just that the dialogue was hilarious.
Why? How's that?
Well, I showed you. They try to make it sound like all
old-fashioned,
right? And I think I took a picture here.
You sent me a picture. It was like heart.
Everything they just add like S and F to like every single word.
Where did it go? Oh, here it is.
It's been so long since I texted
I got it.
you, apparently.
It says the request cometh for none other than the knights. Ardent. The hunt will take us
Taken.
Oh, taken.
The hunt will taken us to distant lands, and the beast we pursuin is a fearsome one.
Pursuin.
Like they just add N and S and S to literally almost any word that's on the screen. It is hilarious.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe the dialogue. I don't know if that was a joke or if
they
that's
actually say it too. Like it's actually got voice actors.
Oh, really? Wow.
For that opening scene, at least. But then when you get into it, it's a lot of. It was funny because the boys, Eli obviously can read. The Sawyer's 5 and doesn't really read yet, but they were sitting in there not really watching the screen, and I'm kind of going through the one text once it's not really voice acting, but the characters just go yes, like make just general.
Oh,
like,
really?
If your character, the text may be saying. I doeth and whatever, this whole big long paragraph, and I might just go, yes. Like, it's random and kind of hilarious.
Well, that was pretty common with like those games back in the day where like the opening cutscene was like grandiose and like had like this really good acting and voice acting and things like that. And then when you got into the game itself, very little, there wouldn't be hardly any. There might be a ho-hum or like a one word, like, huh, okay. Yeah. And like, Yeah,
it does that. I really wish I had a clip to play you because it's just.
So this list, so congratulations, Kotaku. I'm going to.
What's it called again?
It was called Octopath Traveler. So congratulations, Kotaku. You actually kind of sparked my interest with this article. So going forward for the foreseeable future, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a game from Xbox Game Pass every week. I'm going to sit down and give it a good chunk of time. And the game could be bad, the good game could be good, but I'm going to at least play one of these games on the program, and then come back and share it with you guys every Thursday. And I will record and have some audio, some video and stuff like that of me playing and stuff, so you won't have to just sit here and watch us try and describe it to you. So yeah, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, so I just kind of Googled this a little bit.
I'm sure Google probably came up with a whole bunch of good stuff.
Well, apparently, this is so. There's 8 playable characters you can start
Right.
out as. Apparently, this language is specific to the character that I chose. Because you don't
Oh.
start in the same location, you don't start at, like the same story. Like it's different based on like the backstory, based on who you pick. So
Oh, so you don't. So each character's got their own
each character
story.
has their own story. Yeah, you don't just play the same
Oh,
story.
sorry. Whoever you pick, it's a completely different
Right.
game.
So yeah, the girl that I
Holy smokes!
yeah. So
Did
the,
they say?
the girl that I picked is a hunter, and she starts out in the woods, and it even says something about your master goes on this whatever. So it starts out with me talking to my master. That clearly wouldn't be the case if I picked the girl who was like over here and
Right.
talks about like the little thing. So, but yeah, this whole her name is Hannett, and the headline of this just says Octopath Traveler's extreme Middle English is stumping players. Chinese Switch owners have even turned the script into a meme.
Oh no!
Yeah, classic style JRPG.
I wonder if
One of the most perplexing faults is the game's English localization, which gives one character a manner of speaking so absurd, players worldwide are having trouble making sense of it. The Huntress Hannah is one of 8 playable characters you can choose to check out in the beginning of the game. You can unlock the 7 later on. Hannah seems like a good choice if you're a fan of bow and arrow combat, but if you couldn't make it through a single Shakespeare play in school, you might find parsing the dialogue and Hannah's storyline a big challenge. She speaks in an extreme version of Middle English that almost reads as parody. Again, I had to agree.
right.
This quote they put here says, Eliza had to pay in thy debts, and thou only finishedst paying her back this last moon. I mean, it's almost impossible to read.
I thought it was a joke. Maybe not. No,
It says
it's just
payin, finishest?
so maybe
Sure,
is
this
it
may
just
have been used in writing on some occasion, but they're strange to see in a modern video game in countries where the game wasn't relocalized like China. Non-native English speakers say they're totally stumped by these phrases.
so? Is it just bad English, like a bad translation, like, or were they trying to make it?
No, they were trying to make it.
Oh wow!
Because like I said, it says China-based Twitter account Chinese Nintendo reported that college kids have started calling Octopath Traveler Tem 8 Traveler, a joke referencing the college-level test for English majors.
Oh.
In order to be qualified as proficient in English, seniors have to pass the Tem 8 exam. So it says reading Shakespearean English or earlier is definitely high-level stuff, and without a Chinese localization yet, Hannah's storyline reads even more like nonsense to anyone still learning English.
Oh,
But I mean, you can say even us who know English and have read Shakespeare before, Eliza had to pay in thy debts, and thou only finishedst paying her back this last moon.
Yeah, you got me.
So I might recommend maybe not starting as this chick, just because it's just
Not a good first impression, maybe.
right. Now I'm very curious to go back and see. I didn't realize that dialogue was specific
Well, now I'm curious, like,
to her.
if all of them have different dialogues.
I believe so.
That's cool. I like that. But anyway, so I'll be bringing at least one game. I'm not sure if you're going to participate in this or not. Maybe, who knows. But I'll be bringing at least one game each week. And like I said, whether it's good, bad, talk about it a little bit. And it's just, I mean, this was kind of a refresh, like very refreshing, because it's like you look at the list of games on that Game Pass, and it's like, I don't even know where to start. Like, holy cow. And it's just nice that that Kotaku sat down and was like, okay, here's 21 games that are enjoyable to play on this program. Like 21, there's probably hundreds of games on there. And I'll try and stick away from games like Halo Infinite and stuff like that, where it's like AAA games. So anyway, so that's the plan. Last topic we have is Sony is making more PS4 systems to combat the PS5 shortage. So
Okay.
there's a huge issue, obviously, with supply chain and computer components and video game console components. They're hard to come by. And Sony, their solution is, hey, you know what was really good? Last generation, that system had it all. So it was rumored that they were discontinuing production of the PS4 in 2022. Like that, 2021 was the last year it was going to be in production. But Sony told Bloomberg that they're going to continue production through 2022. And this is going to be, hey, it's still a great system. There's plenty of games on it. I mean, it's the same thing goes for the Xbox One, right? We've got 3 Xbox One now. One was gifted to us, but we just got a 4K television. We still use the Xbox One systems on it. Like, I don't see a reason why we would upgrade to an Xbox Series X system, even if we could find one. I mean, unless there was a game that was... Once they start releasing games solely on that system and not, that are backwards compatible, then I could see that. But yeah, I don't see a need to upgrade. What do you think?
I mean, not yet. We don't have anything really yet that's pressing. We still have to... With as little as we play video games anymore...
Well, but I mean, playing with the kids and stuff like that and all that. I mean,
I know.
But the games that we play are available and work well on the Xbox One. So like your Halo Infinite, where Eli can play on his PlayStation or on his Xbox, his computer. Sawyer can play on the Xbox One. You've got the Xbox One in the bedroom. Like, we can play that all together. Fortnite, stuff like that. I don't really see a reason to upgrade. So, is Sony onto something with this? Where they're just like, hey, something's better than nothing? Like, yeah. I don't know. I think they might be onto something. The other thing that kind of brought this to my attention was, are game consoles living longer, or should they be living longer than game companies are allowing them to? So I got a couple dates here. So the original Xbox launched in 2001, with the Xbox 360 launching just 4 years later. And then we had the Xbox 360 for a total of 8 years before the Xbox One came out. So clearly it, doubled in length. And then 7 years after that, we in 2020, we were given the Xbox Series X released. So, Sony's been a little bit more consistent. They've been 6 years, 6 years, 7 years, 7 years from the PlayStation 1 all the way to the PlayStation 5. So they've been a little more consistent. But this last upgrade from the PS4 to PS5 and the Xbox One to the Xbox Series X, did we see a huge jump in graphical fidelity? Like, the Xbox, going from 1080p to 4K. What's the huge difference between the two, and is it completely necessary? Should we get more out of our Xbox Ones and our PlayStation 4s? I guess is the question to ask. I think they're good for a while. Now that's coming from someone that hasn't played an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5. Right. So I we
don't know the difference.
Right, we don't have hands-on experience with the difference.
But like I said, previously the jump was so big. But then again, I was editing on my computer and it was slow and driving me crazy, but I was just fine with it until I edited on that computer.
And you're like, oh yeah,
crap, what was I missing out on?
Right. So I don't know. I think that it's definitely an idea. I would have never expected a company to say, let's go back to last gen, and not necessarily admit that, hey, maybe PlayStation 5 was a mistake to make or anything like that. They're not admitting that, of course, but
they have to have something. I mean, if there's a shortage on...
right, yeah, well, exactly. What do they do for income?
They can't make income if there's right. But why can they make one and not the other?
I guess it's just the components that are involved in making the the PlayStation 5 versus the PlayStation 4. Who knows? But I would think that with Sony stating that they were originally going to stop production in 2022, at the beginning of 2022, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, you know what? January 11th, or what's today? January 13th. You know what? Forget that. We're going to go ahead and pursue this all the way through 2022. Like, that's got to be a huge someone up high was like, hey, so about that revenue for 2022, what's your plan? Someone in that boardroom's like, PlayStation 4 is back, baby.
Right.
So who knows? Are we going to start seeing games developed for PlayStation 4 and not PlayStation 5? Like,
Maybe.
that'd be hilarious. Anyway. All right, guys. So the last little bit here, what's happening on the channel this week? So this week yesterday we released our first episode of Cats in the Cradle. It's a Squall, myself, Grey Wolf, and Eli Chu, our playthrough of Minecraft from start to finish. So this is the first episode. We kind of just get our bearings, hunker down, start building, tunneling, just trying to get the basics and stuff put together. So we'll have that. Tomorrow, I've got an unboxing of Santa Monica going up, so that'll be ready for you guys to check out. And then next week, we've got a Learn to Play on Friday, and then Cats and Cradle Episode 2 on Wednesday, and we'll be back on Thursday. I don't know why I said that in that order. That was weird. Friday, Wednesday, Thursday. That was dumb. Anyway, all right, guys. So stick around for the after show if you want to talk about and hear about the last episode of Dexter New Blood. If not, this is the wrap up. So thanks so much for watching episode 240. Special thanks to co-host Amanda. It's my angel. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy evening. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you are subscribed to the 72 DPI Online YouTube channel. Like I said, we go live every Thursday about 9 p.m. That's what we're shooting for. So we'll be back next Thursday. Make sure you click the little bell icon so you get notified. There'll be links in the description below for things that we talked about during this episode and stuff like that. The Patreon is live, so head over to patreon.com/72DPI. We really appreciate any kickback or anything like that. If you guys don't want to become a patron, then simple share, like, subscription, all that stuff that goes a long way. We truly do appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will see you guys next Thursday. Deuces. All right. So we ready to talk Dexter?
Yep.
Wrap up the after show. So, episode 10. There was a lot to wrap up in this last episode, to the point where I was worried that they wouldn't be able to do it. Right? We had, let's see here. We had Kurt was killed. We just found out Dexter just opened up to Harrison about what had happened. Right? So we've got to wrap that up. We got to figure that out. Angela, is it Angela? The girl, cop lady? I should probably,
Sure.
Yeah. Dexter's girlfriend. Dexter's girlfriend in New Blood. I think it's Angela. Angela Bishop. She pretty much knows that
Yeah,
Dexter.
She just received a letter in the mail that had said that he killed Matt and
Had his pins.
pins. She's already been suspecting him of being the Bay Harbor Butcher.
And then we also, his house burnt down. Kurt burned out his house. Police are on scene with that. That's kind of where they left us this time. So, yeah. Lots to kind of wrap up in a single hour episode. Do you want to dive in first?
I mean, it got up and running pretty quickly. Jumped pretty much right into Dexter and Harrison staying at his girlfriend's house. And she basically comes in, tells Harrison and Audrey to get her daughter to go get something from the store, and arrests Dexter.
Right.
Like, kind of got it right off and going. Takes him back and says, hey, you killed Matt. I got this letter. Like, talks to him about the titanium pins. And he had a pretty logical explanation that's like, you know what? I didn't do it.
Could have been planted.
You said yourself that my house was burned down. And she goes, oh, yeah, well...
Speaking of your
house being burned down, we found this titanium rod in your house. And he's like, it was planted by the person who did the arson. He's like, $10 says his dad killed him and tried to frame me for it, burned down my house and planted that as evidence. And so sure enough, she's like, well, send somebody out to Kurt's house just to check out. Sure enough, it looks like Kurt's vanished because the money's gone.
Car's gone.
Yeah, it looks like he may have done this and left town, which kind of gives her, like a pause for a second. And then she goes, well, you know what, regardless of all that,
there's also this.
There's also this going on. These guys that just recently died here have this wheel mark from being an injection in the neck. And this guy that you were arrested for beating up says that you jabbed him with a needle and has that same mark. And hey, guess what? Remember that police department you were part of back, before you faked your death and lied about who you were? Yeah, they had a series of murders from like a serial killer. And one thing that they kind of looked over, like it was mentioned in the autopsy pictures from the Bay Harbor Butcher, but they just kind of didn't make a big deal out of it, was that all these victims, they were chopped up, but they also had this
the same wheel mark.
And ketamine in their system. So, what about that? And at that point, he realizes like,
oh shit.
And she mentions too, that she's talked to Batista and that he's on his way up and is going to.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Didn't even mention what happened to that.
I know.
He's just on his way and
he's on his way back. Yeah, he's on his way there. And so at this point, he's like, well, crap. Like, she really is pretty good, and there's no way I'm getting out of this one. And, she mentions the fact that she can ship him back to Miami, undergo trial for all this stuff. And they have the death penalty, so...
You're dead.
You're pretty much done for at this point. So, realizing this, he tells her to turn off the camera and... basically confesses. He doesn't say I'm confessing, but he says
he tells her about
if I did do this stuff, like.
Well, he tells her about Kurt. Like he doesn't admit to killing.
He didn't say I'm admitting anything.
Right.
But I am he did.
Did he?
He did.
Oh, see, I wish we still had. I don't know if he did or not. I don't know. Anyway, so he tells her about Kurt's wrongdoings for the past 25 days or 25 days, 25 years. And he basically says, gives her instructions like go down to his property. There's a wood pile with a hatch. It's like you'll find everything you need to know there. And he goes, basically is like, you need to trust me on this. Like, that's it. So she runs off and, they give Harrison 5 minutes or whatever to talk with Dexter Dexter basically just tells them that, go to the inn across the street, stay there, you'll get food, the lady will get, the innkeeper will give you food, and just wait for me there. I will, they don't have anything on me, blah, 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 we'll be fine. So anyway, then the wrestling coach, the other cop or whatever, puts him back in his cell, and we have like one last confrontation with Deb, and you kind of see a little bit more aggression, a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? Emotion from Dexter. He doesn't usually get very emotional, like when he talks to Deb, but this time he really kind of like got out of character, and then brings asks for the guard. I can't remember the guard's name. I'm terrible with names. Anyway, calls the guard in for some water, and yeah. So we'll go fast forward, and you've got Harrison talking with Audrey, I think is her name, the girl, and he basically stays over at her house that night. This is all happening simultaneously, and so he's staying over there. So he went to the inn briefly and then left. And you start to see like kind of little notes of Harrison wanting to stay throughout this entire episode. Harrison wanting to stay at Iron Lake. At the very beginning of the episode, they were at their house while it was their cabin or whatever after it had been burned down, and Dexter had, was talking to Harrison saying, hey, we're going to find someplace different, and, Harrison's like, well, I like it here. Like, I've got friends. Like, you're talking about moving to, he mentioned LA, and Harrison's like, well, that's like 1,000 miles away from my friends. Like, well, you only known these people for like a month, dude. Like, calm down.
Right.
But you can see he wants to live, he wants to be somewhere or whatever.
Right, he wants to fit in and stay in a place for
right.
a while.
And alongside that, you start to see these kind of like tells that like he's not exactly like Dexter. Like as far as like when they're talking about the Dark Passenger and like killing these felons and things, like these people that have gotten away with murder, gotten away with their crimes or whatever. And Harrison's very much on the side of, we're doing this to save how many people, think of the people we can save. And Dexter's just kind of like, yeah. So there's clearly like, they're trying to paint a divide between the two of them. They're both definitely enjoying each other's company, I think. Like I more so than ever before. Because Harrison wants that father figure, and Dexter wants someone, wants to be able to open up to someone, and he found someone, A, related, B, has a similar issue in Harrison. So you kind of come to this climax where everything happens all at once. So like, kind of starts off with Dexter killing the cop through the bars. He broke his, Logan. Yeah, he had him by his neck, and he's like, "Hey, just give me your keys. I don't want to hurt you." And Logan grabbed his keys, but let go and like started to reach for his gun. And Dexter's like, "Don't do that. Just give me your keys." And he grabbed his gun and pulled it behind him and actually pulled the trigger. And Dexter just snapped his neck, and that was that. Yeah. So that's how he got out. Simultaneously, Angela is down in the kill room where Kirk stores all his trophies, and she goes through and is piecing together all these missing girls on her wall versus the ones that are in these coffins.
They've all been staring at her from the wall for forever, and here they are. And
right.
It's sick.
It is. Yeah, she sees Molly. Is it Molly from the?
Molly Parks.
Yeah, Molly Parks, and she runs back up. She calls for help, and like no one is answering their phones except for the other cop that's on duty or whatever. And she's like, blah blah, call the FBI forensics. I need everybody here before this dang blah 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 is a media outrage or whatever. And she's like, have you heard from Logan lately? And he goes, no, I think he's still at the station with Dexter. And she goes, oh my God, like, that's where you left him. Where else would he be? Like, someone's got to be there while there's a prisoner, I would assume. I don't think you could leave prisoners unattended. But she calls him, and obviously he's dead. And by this time, Dexter has called Harrison from Logan's phone, which kind of tips off tips off Harrison. He's like, "Hey, meet me. You need to meet me meet me outside." And Harrison basically says, "Well, I'm not there. I'm at Audrey's." He goes, "Even better." He's like, "Meet me where we saw that deer." And so it's like, grab your stuff right now. Don't tell anybody you're leaving. Just go. So then we have this huge, confrontation between Harrison and Dexter. Would you like to take over?
Sure. Did you mention the fact that she called, couldn't get Logan at the police department and was on her way? Yeah, okay.
She called him but she couldn't get a hold of him because he was dead.
Yeah.
She went there anyway and found him outside the cell with the cell open, so she knew that Dexter had killed him and left.
Right. So Dexter and Harrison were really pressed for time, and Harrison's like, Dexter still had blood on him. Not to mention the fact that Harrison's a smart kid, and you see him piece together the fact that A, how does Dad get out of jail? B, whose blood's on him? C, when you called me, you called from Coach's phone. Like, where is he and what happened to him?
Right.
And he tells him, he's like, I had to escape. I had to get to you. And,
right.
And Harrison's like, well, what about your code? That we don't hurt innocent people. And he's like, but I had to get out. Like, there was no other choice.
Well, part of the code too is don't get caught.
It is, and that's not the part. I mean, you see, like I think we mentioned this last time. You see Harrison really fixated on, and whenever Dexter talks to him about this, he's very fixated on, and this saves innocent lives. Like, he's very into the vigilantism, but for totally different reasons than Dexter, in my opinion. You think Dexter is out to help people?
I disagree slightly. I know he enjoys the hunt because in the original series, like he describes that several times, but like I feel like he does get some enjoyment out of helping getting people off the street that would normally harm other people.
And I think he realizes that those people are bad people, and that the system. I would say, and that the system failed, but a lot of times he would take them out of the system before they even went to trial. That was supposed to have been part of the code too.
Right.
Was when the system failed, then he acted. But a lot of times he took cases from the Miami department.
Well, and some of them he sabotaged too.
Right, so that they couldn't get them because he wanted to take care of them. Yeah, there's numerous times he's broken his code, and he does kill people when they get in his way.
Well, you saw that too when because I'm glad you mentioned that. There's in this episode, right. You saw when he's on the very beginning when he's at Angela's house and she's pointing her gun at him, saying, "Get on your knees, turn around, and put your hands up." He kneels down and he's looking at her in the mirror of a toaster, but right next to it is a block of knives, and you can see it in his eyes. Like, is this what I do? Like, is this how this goes down? Like,
right. Yeah, he is not above hurting innocent people if it means that he gets what he needs.
Gets away. Yeah. Don't get caught.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
But.
So we disagree a little. That's okay. We can disagree. Agree to disagree.
So anyway, Harrison is very fixated on the saving innocent people part. The coach had been nothing but nice to him, and was just doing his job. And he starts to yell at Dexter. He's like, I'm gonna stay here and you need to go back to jail because you just killed this person. Like, there was no reason for this. We would have found a different way, or you would have been in jail. Like, that's what needed to happen.
Right.
And I could have gone on living my life here with my, I mean, he didn't say this, but, had Dexter just stayed in jail, Harrison could have just stayed in Iron Lake with another family, probably finished out his
senior year
of high school, and things would have been okay for him. And I think he realizes that, and he says, look at all the people you've hurt by doing what you do. Like, you say you're in this to help people, but look at who you've hurt. Look at Deb. And so Dexter, you start to see it. You see these flashbacks of, I think, Dokes and Deb and LaGuerta and all these people he's hurt through the years. Rita, and he realizes that he is a villain, and says, "You're right."
Right.
But I still can't get caught. So
right.
You're going to have to kill me.
You have, and he has he has this, I think he has this moment like where he thinks like, okay, we can, I'll stop. I can stop. I've done it before. Let's just leave now. And Harrison just is iron fist and just does not want to move. And, he's got his rifle pointed at him, and Dexter finally comes to this conclusion, this epiphany. He was like, you're right. Like, if I don't go, if we don't go and I go back to jail, they're going to send me to Florida. They're going to kill me. You have to do this. Right. So he puts it on his kid to shoot him.
Right. Instead of taking the high road, going to jail, being extradited to Florida, and letting the justice system play out the way it should, and dying for his crimes, letting his kid, that's one of his big things he's always said is that he wants Harrison to be normal. Do you think that this kid, who already has a very fragile mental health, that forcing him to shoot his dad is going to help that and create a normal? The other thing
you look back at, I wish we would have spent more time with Harrison. I really, really do. I love that character so much. And his reaction to Kurt pulling a rifle on him is a very telling sign that he wants to be a part of a family. And he doesn't the reaction. He's like, I don't know what I did. What I do? I fixed. I don't know what I did. Please tell me what I did. Like, he's just like this, like, completely different. He puts on a complete, this really, monochromatic mask or whatever.
Wants to be a pleaser,
right?
To fit in.
But he's a smart kid too. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he definitely has a few layers to him, and like, it's, I wasn't. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll go ahead. We'll finish the synopsis, and we'll.
So at any rate, yes, Harrison. Dexter says, "Shoot me right here." Harrison shoots. Angela gets there basically just as that occurs.
Which, how does that happen? How does she know to go there?
I don't. I think, didn't she hear the gunshot?
Maybe, but like, she was on it, like, there.
Yeah, I know she was. I'm not 100%. Tracks in the snow. I'm not certain.
I don't know. Another plot hole, like, huge plot hole.
It could have been tracks in the snow. But yeah, so she's there pretty much right as soon as it happens, and tells Harrison, "Take this money, get out of town.
Don't look back. Don't come back. Right. I didn't see you."
Right. She wipes down the weapon and calls in an officer-involved shooting, which clearly, I mean, he was in jail, obviously. Logan is dead. So, I mean, it's pretty darn clear that Dexter killed him. She could have said, I chased him down and shot him.
But here's the problem, though. I'm not a gun expert.
It's not registered to her. It's registered to Dexter.
Right. And many people know.
The same type of bullets.
I was going to say, I'm not a gun expert, but that's a long-range rifle and she has a pistol. I don't think they're the same bullet, but who knows?
More plot hole.
But, right.
But then it had a really nice kind of little letter going on. At the very end, it shows Harrison driving out of town, down the highway she tells him to go, and you see all these trucks coming in. 'Cause she's also called, she called into the one guy and say, hey, call the FBI, call this person, call that person, because there's all these bodies here. We need them. So you see all of the media, the whole police, the FBI, whoever coming into town as a result of his actions. You see the body of Logan being wheeled out of the police station. Basically all of Dexter's kind of legacies, I want to say.
Go ahead.
As he's leaving town. What were you going to say about that?
So there's the one shot that kind of sticks in my mind is a very I don't know. It's an interesting shot. It's kind of telling of when he's driving down that one road to go into town, and it's basically a fork in the road. You can go, if you go straight and it's blocked off by the police tape or whatever, and they're wheeling out the body or whatever to get in, so that's blocked off. And then the fork in the road turns right, and he turns right because that's the way out of town. So it's almost like if you go straight, that would have been Dexter's path, and then this is. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting. It's an interesting shot that they didn't have to do.
Right. But then, so it left off with he's going, and it's a letter sitting in the passenger seat that Dexter had wrote to Hannah. And it's basically his his goodbye to Hannah and Harrison during the hurricane. And he basically says, like, I wish I had, maybe it would have been easier if I had just died, because I do cause people harm, and
Harrison can't have a normal life with me in it. Like, right. That was huge.
And that's what he said. He realized back then he can't. And even Deb, during all of these, her being his conscience, kept saying, "People around you get hurt and die." Like, right. He knew he couldn't. He knew he shouldn't be trying to run away and change him into what he wanted him to be. What he thought he saw in him.
There was a really touching scene with him and Deb at the very end, where Deb's holding his hand, and as Dexter, spoiler, as Dexter dies, Deb kind of disappears and his hand falls or whatever. It was a real touching scene, but the letter definitely is a tearjerker, because it's Dexter admitting, there was one caveat in there where he says if Harrison starts to show signs of a dark passenger, then and only then reach out to me. Don't come find me. So he knows, I don't think he was hoping that anything would happen, but he was prepared for a plan B, I think. So what did you think? What did you think of the series? What did you think of this last episode?
I liked it. There were definite plot holes, which I would like to discuss here in just a little bit. But if you don't look too far into it, it was enjoyable. Definitely had your heart race in there for a while. In most of the episodes. I don't know. I know you and a lot of people weren't necessarily happy with the Dexter death, but I do feel like it's probably what needed to happen.
I kind of agree. Everybody gets caught eventually. I think that's his saying or whatever. In one of the original series, or one of the original episodes, but yeah, I think he says that when because there's several times that he's about to get caught, and the one thing I was thinking about, I really didn't care for one of the things I didn't care for this series was Dexter had no clue that Angela knew anything until this last episode. Not a clue, right? But there's several times that's happened in the original series. Take, for instance, Dokes being chained up in that cabin out in the middle of the swamps or whatever. Dexter's literally minutes from being caught, and the only reason he didn't get caught is because his crazy ex-girlfriend / sponsor for his drug addiction blew up the damn cabin. And so that was completely out of his control. So that thought process, like, oh, well, that was, that's never happened. Like, this kind of goes out the window because it has happened. Like he's been inches away from being busted several times. So this is no different. I do find it interesting, and I've got my conspiracy theory that Dexter's not actually dead. Because in the scene between Dexter and Harrison, where Harrison's pointing the trigger, pointing the gun at him, Dexter's like, "Hey, shoot me right here," like clearly pointing at his chest, like right here in the heart. And my theory is like he just came from a precinct with a police officer. He very well could have grabbed a vest and put the vest on or whatever. And yeah, we see the blood, and we see that doesn't speak very well to my conspiracy theory, and the whole Deb thing doesn't really speak to my conspiracy theory. But that might just be him losing consciousness, maybe, and because we don't see him after that, we see Harrison leave, and I would really love for him just to get up and break Angela's neck and just keep moving.
Yeah.
I don't think it's happening though.
Right. I mean, now everyone's after him. Like when it was easy-ish when he just died in the hurricane because no one was looking for him.
Yeah, they already had the Bay Harbor Butcher.
Right, and everyone thought he was dead.
Right.
His face wouldn't have been all over national news because he wasn't wanted for anything.
Right, but hear me out. So the fact that so you just fed into my conspiracy theory this podcast. Batista. That is a what do they call it when something's left hanging? Unanswered question, or I don't remember. I don't know. Anyway, so Batista's on his way down there, right? Mm-hmm. With intent, knowing that Dexter's alive and there, knows that he talked to Angela. Like Angela is his point of contact, right? So, what if the next series starts with Batista trying to track down Dexter?
There's not a next series.
Oh my God! It could be. You got to admit, like if you
New Blood to me mentions
that is no. I get you
about Harrison.
I got you. That is like
means like start of
passing the torch. I got you. Loose ends. That's what I was thinking of. Loose ends.
So here are some. This is a article online I found that mentions quite a few of I guess issues.
Plot holes.
Quite
a few.
A lot that we have discussed.
No, really? We didn't.
Not necessarily plot holes, but things that, like you said, loose ends.
Right.
So, and a lot of people have mentioned this one here that I've read online. The inclusion of Edward Olsen. You remember this character? No, he was a character that really was like a big guy in the first maybe episode or two. He was the big billionaire oil guy who they were like picketing and rioting against at the very beginning of the entire show.
I thought that was Kurt.
No, it was an oil billionaire. His name was Edward Olsen.
Oh.
And he just kind of fell off the face of the planet.
Oh.
Right?
That's weird. Was that was only in there just to introduce the fact that Angela's daughter is
an activist, and why would that even matter to the?
Because wasn't that at Kirk's restaurant though? That was they had to because Kirk came out and said I apologize. I had to close down the.
I don't know, but it just seems like a very bizarre, and random thing that not really a plot hole, but just kind of like what was that about?
Why would they include? Why would they spent like 10 minutes on that?
Someone said maybe it was a red herring, like just to make us think that he had something to do with instead of Kurt. I don't know.
Maybe. Who knows?
The whole Dexter being shot in the leg in episode 8, but being perfectly fine in the beginning of episode 9.
Right.
That's a major one in my
yeah, that was a big one.
So this isn't, again, a plot hole. They said that Angela meeting Batista and him randomly talking about Harrison and Dexter. I mean, she met him because she went to a thing about serial killers, and It is kind of weird that he mentioned Harrison and Dexter. And
Yeah.
why even Deb in the beginning? Like, that is kind of random. Very, like, just, that was just too...
Well, and the funny thing is, like, that kind of started her whole conspiracy about going down, checking it. I mean, I guess Molly did push her a little bit further down that path, but I don't know.
Molly Park. Wasn't her whole podcast like a true crime podcast about like mostly serial killers?
Yeah.
She came to town for just Matt Caldwell disappearing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really? Like, for just a disappearing, for a single, this town has had disappearing women for how long? And you came here for one man disappearing?
Right. There has been
seriously?
women missing for 25 years, and now one dude is scotch like,
oh my
drop
God,
everything.
I gotta come to a podcast on this.
Right.
So, yeah. This is Kurt's incomprehensible fuel truck plan. I don't understand what that means.
Is that when he's burning down the house?
Maybe.
I mean, I guess I don't understand why he was doing that in the first place. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, maybe because it just was a way to get him out of. It was a way to get him out of the house so that they could find his girls in boxes, and it was a way for the house to burn down so Angela would find the pin in.
Yeah.
It was just another like, here's a random thing we're gonna do so that the storyline makes sense.
We've got
10 episodes.
We've got A and C, but we don't know how to get there. Here's just random action
have
B.
10 episodes, so let's make this happen real quick.
Right.
And this is how it's gonna go down.
Yeah.
The ketamine and M99 snafu. So this one I wasn't really familiar with because I didn't watch Dexter quite as much as you did. But apparently, in the original series, he speaks a decent amount about the drug that he uses to knock people out as being M99.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it is known as Otophene.
Okay.
And it is an... where did it go? Okay. So... M99 and etorphine is a large animal tranquilizer. Okay? That would make sense for him to get from a veterinarian. Ketamine is what he uses in the new.
Well, I don't know what ketamine is.
Which is a powerful medication used for anesthesia on humans.
Oh. So not the same thing.
They're not the same drug. Apparently, when Angela is looking up Bay Harbor Butcher stuff, she says ketamine. She looks for ketamine Miami homicide.
And it pulled up.
And it pulled up all the Bay Harbor Butcher stuff, but in the original series, he doesn't ever talks about using ketamine. He uses M99 or.
Now that you mention it, yeah.
So.
Well, the one episode, you're right, because the last episode I watched in the original series was when Dexter was taking down this huge guy. He was one of the. They call him a drug enforcer or whatever. Like, basically, if you don't pay, they send this guy in to straighten you out and pretty much kill you. Right. But this guy's like 7 feet tall or whatever, and the only way Dexter's able to get to his neck is by luring him into his car, and then as he's getting out of the car, he sticks him with 2 needles into his neck. So he shoots this guy with like double tranquilizer darts of the M95. And yeah, so basically he describes the. There. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting little mix-up on their part, right? Dexter and Harrison spending Christmas with Angela and Audrey, despite both couples breaking up without having any shown reconciliation.
Oh yeah,
we discussed that too. Like, they broke up.
Yeah.
They've had big fights. They're no longer together, and yet, hey, we're here for Christmas. Here's my Christmas sweater. Like,
right.
What?
Well, that, and then like coming back to the house when she confronts him or whatever, or arrests him. Like, it's like, hey, we're gonna do Christmas dinner or whatever.
Right after Christmas.
Yeah.
They broke up 2 episodes ago.
Right. Yeah.
They had snow tracks. Like, yeah. I mean, how do you cover all that up?
We've talked about a lot of these, actually.
We have, and then Dexter having plausible deniability with Angela because Elrich gave the titanium screws to Harrison. That doesn't really seem like a major issue to me, but anyway, yeah, there were some. It seems like I said, it was enjoyable. You can't look too far into it. I feel like because they had a 10-episode order and they had a lot that they had to cover in those 10 episodes. And so in order to make the story happen the way they wanted it to, they took a lot of liberties, I feel like.
Yeah.
But
So Clyde Phillips is the show director for both the original series and this series. Stated that he would drop everything to do the show Harrison. He confirmed in an interview that Harrison has shown signs or quote seeds of a dark passenger, and like he said, he would drop. He says he would continue on. The only thing that's holding it up is Showtime, like the station Showtime. Like if they said like let's do it, he would be on board. Yeah. What do you think about a Harrison series? What does that look like to you?
It would be interesting. Like I said, I don't know if he's got a lot of anger and he has hurt people. He was willing to set that one kid up at school to look, and sent him off. Like, he's got some pretty negative thoughts and actions in his past here.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's killed his dad. Like, the kid's messed up. But I don't know if he would have the makings of like a true vigilante or serial killer. I guess that would be what we would have to see.
I think he does. I think so. A couple things, like the fact that he wanted to kill the Trinity Killer with his straight razor, like he killed his mom, like that's pretty reminiscent of not necessarily a serial killer, but like someone that's showing dark signs. Now, I think we've gotten a lot of information on why he would do that to save innocent people or whatever. And now that Dexter has shared that with him, that might push him towards that type of lifestyle. Like, hey, don't get caught. He knows about like the plastic and all that stuff. He's done a kill with Dexter. The one thing that I worry about if they do make a Harrison spinoff is you have to remember with Dexter, all the people talking to him in his head is just the interactions that Dexter had with them. So like they had no more information than Dexter has, right? So like all the teachings that Harry gave him and everything like that, that's all Dexter remembering what Harry said. It wasn't actually Harry there present giving him direction on how to kill specific people. It was what Dexter knew at the time about the person, and like his point of view of what Harry would say. My one concern is there wasn't a lot of time for we had an episode and a half where Dexter and Harrison really knew each other. Like that's the only time that they knew each other. Right. And a quarter of that time Harrison was pointing a gun at him. Like, so as much as I would love to see a Harrison spinoff, my first instinct would be like, oh, well, that would mean Dexter would be Harrison's Harry, and like, hey, this, you don't want to get, kind of giving him guidance from beyond the grave type of thing through his conscience. But if they go down the same route, like Dexter really wouldn't have that much to say. You know what I mean? Like it would all be,
yeah.
I mean, it would all be what Harrison would think Dexter would say.
Well, what do you think about the fact that Harrison really was pretty squeamish when he was doing the kill with Kurt, but then didn't seem to have that big of an issue with killing his dad? I mean, he seemed to be driving off in his truck pretty happy-go-lucky almost.
Right. I think it was a product of the circumstance, though, of like the scene. Like, because as he was really having the issues with when the blood started pulling down and running towards him, and he was having flashbacks of like the blood overflowing the tub with his mom.
And so then what would that mean if he turns into some kind of like a serial killer again?
What do you mean? Oh,
what would that mean for his...
Oh, do you think that would like set him off?
How would that affect him? Would that affect how he kills people? Would he not allow, would he do something with the blood so that it doesn't pool? Would he kill in a certain way that wouldn't allow the pooling of blood? How would that affect?
He'd be like the ice truck killer. He'd be like his uncle. Right. Oh, see, that's one of the things that Dexter would have said had they had this relationship, but since Harrison,
your uncle was a serial killer too.
Right, but see the thing is Dexter can't say that in the conscious form because Harrison doesn't know that. That's exactly what I mean. Like Dexter's knowledge is very, very limited because it's got to be something that Harrison knows.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. I think it would be a cool idea because we would learn a lot about the character. Maybe we would get flashbacks of. I mean, hell, maybe he would be like Hannah and poison people. Where there is no blood, like that was Hannah's forte. It was just poison people with, with her flowers from her garden, that apparently the police never decided to raid. But I don't know. I would be down for it. It probably wouldn't be good. I mean, there's a lot of holes in this series that I just would hope that they wouldn't have the same problem.
I feel like it was just because they were trying to get a lot in a short time.
Yeah, this if they had 2 seasons
where they could really flesh out some of the things, take their time.
Yeah, I would imagine season 1 would end with Kurt confronting Dexter about killing his son. Like that would be like the boom, that end moment, roll credits, and then previously last season on Dexter. New blood, and then they would, I think that would be the good cutoff point, and then, you've got 12 episodes, 14 episodes to, space that stuff out. I don't know. So it's definitely a fault of the limited number of episodes, but I don't know. I'd be down for Harrison. I just hope they wouldn't fuck it up, but, it would be hard to give that same Harry treatment to Harrison as Dexter. That would be the one thing I would worry about, is it wouldn't be a true Dexter without
He might see Hannah.
That's true. He spent more time with Hannah. That would be...
And that would be a way to get some of that flashback into their previous life.
That's a really good idea. That's a good idea. Because maybe Hannah confided in Harrison about what she's done. I mean,
we don't know.
She's had. I mean, the information that Harrison had to go on to find Dexter, he would have had a good head start from Hannah if she gave him that information. But
I gotta go to bed.
Okay, all right, guys, that's the end of the show. Thanks for watching. We will see you guys next Thursday, 9 p.m. Thanks for watching.
Bye.